Thank you for joining us today. I'm Diane Gomez, Public Relations Manager for the Public Relations Society of America. Last week I attended Hispanicize 2012 in Miami, Florida, where I sat in on a very interesting session on reality advertising led by Stacy Pagan, Management Supervisor for MARCA, a full-service branding, advertising, and public relations firm located in Coconut Grove, Florida. The session, Why Not Do It for Real? Reality Advertising in the Latino Consumer, focused on a case study of H&R Block's tax season campaign that featured non-actors in commercial spots filmed in Los Angeles, New York, and San Antonio. Stacy, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Diane.
So, Stacy, talk to me about the basics of this campaign. What were the outcomes that H&R Block was hoping to accomplish with it?
Well, first of all, we were coming off a few years of stagnation where there had not been Latino business growth. We were in the middle of a recession, and the idea was that H&R Block needed to grow their Latino returns, their tax returns, by creating a program, a marketing campaign, where they would go out into the community and identify a proof point that would show Latino consumers that H&R Block could get them more money and essentially grow their business that way. We were looking to become a company that was more familiar to Latino consumers. We wanted them to recognize the brand and understand better what was it that H&R Block actually did, what was their core competency as a business.
Now, you took an interesting approach to this campaign. You decided to take a reality approach to producing these commercial spots. Why did you decide to do that, and what challenges and opportunities did you encounter along the way?
One of the first areas when we started to look at the market in the various Hispanic markets across the country, we realized that although there are some other large competitors, within the Hispanic market, our main competitors, what we might call ankle biters, smaller companies, mom and pop shops, whose core competency wasn't only tax returns, but it could have been translation services, money wiring, travel agencies. So we recognized that there was really a need to get into the community and prove for real that H&R Block was a 55-year-old company with a lot of expertise and bilingual tax pros, and they actually were in the community as well. And that was our goal. So it was to show the expertise of the company, but again, using a product that would prove that H&R Block could get more money back compared to some of the competitors.
And how did the decision to take the reality approach to producing your spots come about?
That's one of my favorite questions, because initially when we thought about our campaign strategy, we thought, well, we're a 55-year-old company, and we have prowess and efficacy and great-looking offices, and don't we want to come in there with this shiny, glossy view for the Latino consumer? And the more we looked at ourselves and looked at our footprint in the market, we recognized that that's not the way you come in and you win. You win by being a part of the community and showing that your people are of the community, and that you invite people into your offices to meet your tax pros. And again, you prove to them how capable you are of reviewing their taxes and finding them the most money that they deserve in their refund. And so that's what we did. So we took a non-glossy approach. We took the approach where you go after real people, not actors and actresses, because they don't really give you the mirror of your market. The market is, and really we talked about this earlier, depending upon your market, your people are all very different. And we really, really wanted to show the authenticity of the company and the people in the community. And that's why we took a reality advertising approach.
Now, during the session, you discussed that there were some issues or challenges with casting real people. Considering that you filmed in 3 different markets that each has their own unique makeup of Latinos, how did you approach finding the right individuals in the different markets?
We knew that we had certain channels of communication that would help us. One was working with research firms that would help us reach out to consumers that had a certain profile. We had challenges where people had to be able to speak Spanish, because if they were actually going to be cast in our TV spots, they were going to speak on television, and these are Spanish language television spots. They also had to be legal, and they also had to file their taxes, because we were going to do what we call a second look. We're going to take a look at their past year's taxes, a bilingual tax pro from H&R Block would do that to identify if there were any mixed tax credits or any areas where we could get them a larger refund. So we had to find these people. We used these research firms. We used television. We used radio interviews. And we set up a microsite and flyers and grassroots events where these consumers could go to get more information about where would this take place, this review of their taxes, when would it take place, what kind of materials and tax returns and receipts that they needed to bring with them, and then what was the next step. If we were to find them additional money, it had to be a secret. We couldn't tell them because we were going to do the reveal on television. So we also had to make sure that they'd be available not only to do the second looks, which was approximately a 2 to 3 hour process a few weeks prior to Thanksgiving, but then they'd have to be available for a 2-day shoot, which was going to be sometime in December, very close to Christmas. Part of the challenge was it wasn't so much that Los Angeles may have had more Mexicans and San Antonio may have had 4th or 5th generation Mexicans, but it was finding people that were comfortable with opening up their vests and showing their finances. Then it was people that were comfortable enough that if they were to get money back, that they'd be able to be on television. And the challenges with that are we have different levels of acculturation here and different levels of language proficiency. And we wanted to show the reality of the market. So there could be some instances where our actor or actress who was a real person may have said something that wasn't properly said in Spanish. And then we'd have to cut and fix it and cut and fix it because we still wanted to show our consumer as an educated, bilingual consumer that they really are, or that he or she is.
And can you talk a little bit about the aftermath of the campaign? How did it come across, and how did it work for H&R Block?
Well, we're really happy that this is the second year that we've done this campaign. We had significant growth in Latino returns, actually both years. We're poised to have double-digit growth this year as well, but tax season, we don't all have to send in our taxes until tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We also always test our spots with Millward Brown, and among the consumers that had seen the spots, unaided recall was high, and they also shared that they found the spots to be believable, trustworthy, and authentic. And those are the 3 buzzwords I'd say that when we set out on this path, that's what we really wanted. We wanted authenticity and trust, because H&R Block 2 years ago had a lack of familiarity and trust among Latino consumers interviewed.
Wonderful. Now, when you decided to make these commercials, you had a few challenges in finding a director who would take on the reality version of these commercials. And you found one in Nicolas Intel, who also created a documentary based on his work on this campaign. Can you tell me a little bit more about the challenges with finding a director and about the documentary itself?
Sure. I think initially I wanted to just state that we actually had a nice production budget, so it wasn't a financial reason that we didn't move forward with other commercial directors. But the angle of going after real consumers and having to do their tax returns, to review them, to even determine last minute if we had anybody who would get money back and how would they be on film. Most of the commercial directors that we invited into the RFP were not comfortable with that situation. They felt that the results were that they didn't know what the results would be. It was too last minute, and they just did not feel comfortable. However, Nicolas, he has done a lot of reality. He's actually a documentary filmmaker, and he's very comfortable with meeting people, getting to know them, and being able to pull out the nuggets of information about their lives and make them feel comfortable on camera. And we just felt immediately, based on how he presented himself and based on the documentary films that he had directed, that he would be the right guy. And he has been involved with us every step of the way, from the beginning part where we're trying to get consumers to come into the offices and do the revisions of their taxes, down to obviously shooting, and then afterwards to kind of taking a look at the edited spots just to give us his feedback. He really knows how to get the true response from people, and I mentioned that these consumers did not know that they were getting money back, and obviously you have to take multiple takes of here's your check, here's your check, here's your check, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But we really got the reaction that we were looking for from some people that I never thought we would get that reaction from.
Do you have any plans to extend this campaign next year, perhaps moving it online and onto social media channels?
So I would say that's definitely in our plans. I know that the last 2 years have been so successful both for the general market and for the Hispanic market that we do have plans to do this again. We also have a microsite. If anybody's interested, they could go to hnrblock.com/Espanol, even though it's Espanol, but online it's Espanol, and they can get information on the spots. From a social media perspective as well, I mean, we have plans to be more involved in social media than in the past. And unless something changes in the next 3 months, I don't foresee us changing the way in which we develop these spots for next year.
Well, thank you, Stacy, for joining me today. I really enjoyed your session at Hispanicize and learned quite a bit in a short period of time. So thank you again for joining me.
And I'm really happy that you came to the session as well, and thank you for the interview.
This is Diane Gomez, Public Relations Manager at PRSA. If you would like more information about PRSA, you can visit www.prsa.org.